In the beginning, God creates. A Bible study on Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. Can I be honest with you for a second? There have been seasons in my life where I could not tell you what day it was. I just know I was tired, tired in a way that sleep did not fix, tired in a way that went down into my bones, down into the parts of me that nobody saw. I was working. I was showing up. I was holding things together for everybody around me. And inside it was dark. It was quiet in the wrong way. It felt like nothing, like I was just going through the motions of a life I could not quite feel anymore. Maybe you know that feeling. Maybe you are in it right now. Maybe you woke up this morning and you got dressed and you showed up. And somewhere underneath all of that, you are asking a question you are almost afraid to say out loud. Does any of this mean anything? Am I just here? Or is there a reason I exist? I need you to hold that question because we are about to open the very first page of the Bible together. And I promise you that what God says on that first page is the answer to every version of that question you have ever asked. We are going to Genesis chapter 1, and we are not going to rush it. We are going to sit with it. We are going to taste it because this is not information. This is not a history lesson. This is a word that was written for you in your real life, on your real day, with your real exhaustion and your real questions and your real, I am trying, Lord. I am really trying. Let us open it together. Here's what Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 5 says. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning. The first day, 5 verses. That is it. But do not let the simplicity fool you, because packed inside these 5 verses is every answer to every question you have ever had about whether your life matters. We just have to slow down enough to find it. The very first word of the Bible in Hebrew is bereshit. It sounds like this, bereshit, and it means in the beginning. Now, I want you to think about what a beginning actually requires. A beginning requires that someone was already there before it started. Think about it like this. You know how when you were a kid, or maybe when your kids were small, you would walk into the kitchen and whatever was cooking on that stove, you could smell it before you even rounded the corner? The food was already happening before you arrived. The cook was already there. The work had already been started. That is what Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 is telling us. Before there was a universe to walk into, before there was even a corner to round, God was already there. God was already working. God was already being. The Bible does not begin by arguing for God. It does not say, now let me prove to you that this is real. It opens the way my grandmother used to open her mouth, with complete and quiet authority, not loud, not defensive, just this is what it is. In the beginning, God. That is the foundation. That is the ground we stand on. Everything else we are about to learn, everything else in the entire Bible, flows out of that one unshakable truth. Before anything existed, God existed. And because he existed, everything else does too. Now, The Hebrew word used for created here is bara. B-ash-ra. Bara. And I need you to understand something about this word because it changes everything. In the entire Old Testament, this specific word, bara, is only ever used with God as the subject. Only God baras. Only God creates in this particular way. Because every human being who has ever made anything, every artist, every cook, every builder, every mother who put together a home with barely any money and a whole lot of love, they all started with something: raw materials, ingredients, space that already existed, fabric they cut and sewed, ground they built on. But when God buried the universe, he started with nothing. No ingredients, no space, no time, not even silence, because silence requires somewhere to exist in. There was just God and his will and his word, and he spoke and reality answered. I think about that whenever I am in a season where I feel like I do not have enough to work with. You know those seasons where you look at your bank account and you look at what is needed and you look at your own energy and you think, there is not enough here. The numbers do not add up. The resources are not there. I do not have what this is going to take. And then I remember the God I serve started with nothing and made everything. He does not need your enough. He just needs your surrender. He can bear something out of your nothing. When the Bible says God created the heavens and the earth, this is not just a pretty phrase for sky and ground. In Hebrew, when a writer wants to say all of everything, they name two opposite ends of a spectrum. Like when my mama would say, I have been up and down, through and through, in every corner of this house, looking for that remote. She did not mean she checked two specific spots. She meant she checked everywhere. The heavens and the earth means everything, the whole thing, all of it, every particle of matter, every law of physics, every dimension of space, time itself. God made time. He made the very thing that allows a beginning to even exist. Think about what that means. When you feel like time is your enemy, like there are never enough hours, like you are always running behind, like life is moving too fast or too slow, remember that time itself is a creation. It is not a cage. It is a canvas. And the one who made it is on your side. Now we get to verse 2. And this is the verse I think a lot of us live in and do not even realize it. The earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep. The Hebrew words are tohu va vohu. Say it with me. Tohu va vohu. Tohu va vohu. Formless, void, chaotic, dark. Can I just be real? There have been seasons in my life that were tohu va vohu, whole years where I could not name what was wrong. There was just this heaviness, this sense that things had no shape, no direction, no meaning. I was doing everything I was supposed to do, getting up, going to work, going to church, praying, trying, and I still felt like I was in the middle of an ocean with no land in sight. You know that feeling? When your situation does not even have enough clarity to describe clearly? When you cannot tell people what is wrong because you cannot name it? When you are just dark, just empty? That is tohu va vohu. And here's what I need you to understand. This was not the description of something God had abandoned. This was not the description of something God could not work with. This was the starting point. Tohu va vohu was not the ending. It was the before. And then look what the very next sentence says. The Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. The Spirit of God did not wait for the earth to clean itself up before he showed up. The Spirit did not say, when you get yourself together and get some light in here, call me. No, the Spirit of God was already there, in the dark, over the formless, over the void, hovering. The Hebrew word for hovering is rechef, ra-kaf, and it is the same word used to describe a mother eagle hovering protectively over her young, tender, watchful, warm, close, not panicking, not turned away, not impatient, and just present. That image does something to me because I know what it is to be in a dark season and feel like God had turned his face, to feel like I have made too many mistakes. I am too far gone. My life is too messy. My faith is too small. He must be done with me. But Genesis 1, verse 2 says the Spirit of God was hovering, not leaving, not waiting from a distance, close, over the waters, in the dark, in the formless, in the void. Your mess has not driven him away. He is hovering over it right now. I do not care how dark it has gotten. I do not care how long it has been dark. I do not care how many times you have asked God where he went. He is not gone. He is hovering. He is there. He is warm and he is close and he is waiting for the right moment to speak. Do not you leave before he speaks. And God said, let there be light. God does not build light. He does not mix light. He does not strain or sweat or figure it out. He opens his mouth and what he says exists. I think about the times in my life when I needed a word from God so badly, not a program, not a plan, not a to-do list, just a word, just something from God that would cut through the noise and the fear and the confusion and say, this is what is real. This is what is true. This is where you are going. A word from God changes things. A word from God creates things. I remember when I was in one of the darkest seasons of my life. I will not go into all the details, but I was sitting in my car. And I mean, I was really sitting in my car the way that Black women sit in their cars when they need 5 minutes where nobody needs anything from them and they can just exhale. I had been carrying so much. And I remember just saying out loud, Lord, I need to hear from you. And it was not a booming voice. It was not a dramatic sign, but something came over me, a peace, a word in my spirit that was so clear and so quiet and so unmistakably him. And just like the darkness in Genesis 1 had no defense against the word of God, the fear in me had no defense against it either. Let there be light. And there was light. That is what the word of God does. It does not fight the darkness. It does not negotiate with the darkness. It simply speaks, and the darkness goes. Now, here is something I cannot skip because it is too important. Turn in your mind to the New Testament for just a moment. The Gospel of John, chapter 1. John opens his book with words that are unmistakably familiar. He says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him, all things were made. Without him, nothing was made that has been made. John is reaching back to Genesis chapter 1 on purpose. He is saying, you know that voice? The one that spoke in the darkness and created light? The one through whom all things were made? That voice has a name. That word became flesh. His name is Jesus. The same voice that said, "Let there be light" in Genesis 1 is the same voice that called Lazarus out of the tomb. The same word that formed the mountains and filled the oceans is the same word that said to the wind and the waves, "Peace, be still." And here is what I want you to carry with you. Jesus is not a concept. He is not a religious tradition. He is not something you grew up with in church that you have heard so many times. It stopped meaning something. He is the Word. He is the creative force behind all existence. He is the one through whom your very life was spoken into being. And He is the same one who came down into creation, down into the tohu va vohu, down into the dark and the broken and the lost to rescue it. Creation and redemption share the same voice. What God did in the beginning of the world, He is still doing in the beginning of lives, in the beginning of second chances, in the beginning of what comes after the dark season. He is still speaking, and what He speaks exists. Verse 4 says, God saw that the light was good. God looked at what He made. He evaluated it. He saw it. This matters because there is a kind of pain. And I think a lot of us, especially those of us who have been overlooked, underestimated, invisible to systems and people who should have seen us, there is a specific kind of pain that comes from not being seen, from doing the work and not being acknowledged, from being in a room and feeling like you are not really in the room, from pouring yourself out for people who never once looked at you and said, "I see you. You matter. What you bring is good." That is a real wound. And I am not going to gloss over it. But I want to tell you what God does. He looks. He sees what He made. He looks at it fully. And when it matches what He intended, when it is exactly what He meant it to be, He says, Tav, Tav, good, beautiful in its rightness, complete, exactly what I meant. The Hebrew word tov does not just mean acceptable. It does not mean, "I guess that will do." It means, this is exactly what I meant when I intended it. And God made you. God made you the same way He made the light, with intention, with care, with a purpose that was formed in His heart before you ever existed. You did not arrive here by accident. You were not a surprise to God. You were not the result of a plan gone sideways. You were barad. You were created, specifically, intentionally, by the one who makes something out of nothing. And He looked at the thought of you before you were born, and He said, Tav, good. This is exactly what I meant. I need you to receive that, not just hear it, receive it, because the world will spend a lot of time telling you what you are not. Systems will spend a lot of energy making you feel like you are not accounted for. People will overlook you. Rooms will make you invisible. But the God of Genesis 1 looks at you and says, good. That is not their word to take from you. Here is the big picture of everything we just walked through. The pattern of Genesis 1 is this: formless becomes form, empty becomes filled, dark becomes light, chaos becomes order. And this is not a one-time event. This is God's signature. It is what He does. It is who He is. a God who takes what is broken and incomplete and dark and gives it shape and fills it and lights it up. And he is still doing it. I have seen it in my own life. I have been in the formless place where I did not know who I was anymore, where I had lost my sense of direction, where I could not tell you what I was building toward. And God came into that, not all at once, but the Spirit started hovering. And then the Word started speaking. And then slowly, shape started to emerge out of what had been shapeless. He took what I thought was a waste and made it into a witness. He took my mess and made it into a message. He took my tohu vavohu and brought order. That is what he does. He does it for entire universes. And he does it for one woman sitting in her car at 11:30 at night with her head on the steering wheel. Same God, same pattern, same love. We have only looked at 5 verses. 5 verses. And already we have found a God who was there before everything. A God who created from nothing. A God whose spirit hovers over chaos with warmth and intention. A God whose word alone shatters darkness. A God who looks at his creation, who looks at you and calls it good. A God who is still in the business of bringing order to what is formless, filling what is empty, and speaking light into what is dark. And threaded through all of it, the Son, Jesus, the Word made flesh, the one through whom it all was made and for whom it all exists. So I want to leave you with a question, not a homework assignment, just something to sit with today, maybe tonight, maybe in your car on the way home. What in your life right now feels like tohu va vohu? What feels formless? What feels empty? What feels dark in a way you cannot quite name? Because the God of Genesis 1 is not waiting at a distance from that thing. He is hovering over it. He is already there, and he is about to speak. Do not give up before he does. Come back for video 2. We are just getting started, and it only gets better from here. The Apostle Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 6, "For God, who said, 'Let light shine out of darkness,' made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of God's glory displayed in the face of Christ." Before you go, I want to leave you with one question to carry with you today. What in your life right now feels formless and empty? And have you let God know he is welcome in it? Sit with that. Let it stay with you through your day. And when you are ready, drop your answer in the comments below. You do not have to have it all figured out. You just have to be honest. This is a safe place. We are in this together. If this word spoke to you today, share it with somebody who needs it. You never know who is sitting in their car right now, needing to hear that God is still hovering. And if you have not already, subscribe to this channel and turn on your notifications so you never miss a new episode. Because we are just getting started. Video 2 is coming. And trust me, you do not want to miss what God does next. I will see you there.